Great. Nice. So, just a brief introduction about the Indian Debating League. The Indian Debating League is the world's largest debating league in terms of the number of students who are taking part. Just mere numbers, I think more than 90,000 debaters, more than 100 plus debating competitions, more than 1 lakh speeches, and a lot more wins. But I think more than all these wins and more than the numbers which are being displayed here, it's about the networks that we have actually created to a lot of different places, including including prestigious colleges all around the world. We've had the privilege of having someone like Harish Natarajan being one of the trainers for the Indian Debating League. For the ones who are not aware, Harish Natarajan is the first human to defeat an AI in a debate altogether. So just imagine a person with like the limited amount of knowledge that they would have defeating an AI or a robot which would probably have all sort of information about the world through one click. So that's how amazing the feat was. And again, they were one of our trainers, and you could see on the screen as well. If you're interested, you could also like search a lot about them. There were a lot of news articles as well about Harish. Yeah, apart from that, as I've told you, the global footprints are at different places all around the world, which includes Stanford, Harvard, LSE, etc. Here are the partnerships, and here are the winners from the previous editions of different competitions all around the world, including the Oxford schools, Cambridge, Harvard, etc. A lot of our qualifiers are also specifically towards a lot of these colleges, etc. as well, right? Here are a few of the wins that we are really proud of. It's the Princeton Gold finalists for the novice category. Then you have Stanford. So the thing here is that in debating, just like any other competition or say any other sport, there are in rounds and out rounds. What are in rounds and out rounds? Out rounds basically mean your quarterfinals, your semifinals, and then your finals, right? So many of them that you are now able to see on your screen, for example, the Princeton Gold finalists and specifically the Stanford quarters, all of them were actually students who were like of what, eighth or ninth graders who were probably doing their debates for the second or the third time. So just imagine like how big of an achievement would it be, not just making skilled debaters win, but also making people who are very new to this activity also win quite often, right? Yeah. Now with that, let's now move to what exactly we have for all of you today. Now, for the competition that you have ahead, here are the formats which are going to be very essential, and I want you to concentrate on this slide quite a lot. There are 5 formats, first of all. 3 of them are compulsory formats, while 2 would be optional, out of which you would have to choose one, which means in total, you would have to do 4 formats together. Now, so you've told us about what are the compulsory formats and what are the optional formats, but which exact format is compulsory and which one is optional? Okay. The impromptu speaking, interpretative reading, and debating, all these 3 formats are going to be compulsory formats. Point one. That is, impromptu speaking, interpretative reading, and debating, all 3 are compulsory. The one thing that I want to make clear, to clear it up, is that you would be doing interpretative reading once, impromptu speaking once, but debating twice. That means you will get 2 rounds of debating. All right. Now, what exactly you're supposed to do in these formats, etc., etc. All those questions very valid. We'll answer them in the later part of the session. For now, just concentrate on the formats that we have. The optional formats that we have here are persuasive speaking and after dinner speaking. You have to choose one of them. All right. So the first thing that we've clarified here is that impromptu speaking, interpretative reading, and debating, all 3 are going to be compulsory formats. Whereas the other 2, that is persuasive and after dinner, you have to choose one of them. All right. And as tasty as the format names, after dinner speaking is something that is really interesting, which we'll discuss also in the later part of our session. For now, let's move to the compulsory formats first of all. Okay, cool. Let's move to the impromptu speaking. What is impromptu speaking, sir? Can you give us some idea about it? It's very simple. First of all, you would be given three topics out of which you have to choose a topic. So we'll give you three options: topic one, topic two, topic three. Now it's on Niharika, it's on Vaishnav, it's on Sanvi to choose which topic would they like to go forward with, right? So you would get now an option to choose one of them. Once you choose your topic, you get 2 minutes of silent preparation at the desk or the prep area. So, for example, if the qualifiers that we have are completely online, once the three topics are given to you, you would choose one topic and then you'll get 2 minutes to prepare on that topic. Right after 2 minutes get over, your speaking time for 5 minutes would start, which means you really don't have a lot of time to prepare as such. All right. So that means we have to be on our toes on the day of the competition. Well, this is the skill that we want to bring in through impromptu speaking quite a lot. That is the ability to be able to rationalize and channelize all those ideas that you have in the best possible manner. And then you'll speak for 5 minutes. Yes, Sargun.
So, are we allowed to write any sort of pointers while preparing?
Yeah, well, absolutely you can, but I think it will be a bit recommended here from my side if you don't speak everything out from the sheet of paper itself or wherever you're writing those things. Because I'll also share with you the judging criteria or the judging metrics. You will see that marks are also given for manner and method, which includes whether you're maintaining an eye contact while speaking and all of these things. So yeah, you can write those things, but would I suggest that? I would not suggest you to read those things out completely in front of the judges. Yeah,
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
no worries. Yeah, Sehaj.
Yeah, so just a question about how subjective these topics are, because given that we have 5 minutes of speaking time, that means we need to cover a pretty significant amount of content. So is it going to be something kind of very vague, like say freedom or maybe like another abstract concept, or will it be something more concrete, similar to say a debate motion?
Most likely they're going to be more concrete in nature. However, even if the topic stands out to be a bit more abstract, the it's going to be abstract for you as well as your competitors per se. So the level of competition would still remain pretty much similar. So the open answer to this is that no, it's not just going to be things which you can anticipate. They might also be things which are abstract in general.
Okay, thanks.
No worries. Yep. Ariana.
Yeah, so two questions. Are the topics something like, implementation of a policy or like, like debate motions or more just in general topics about like say something you could use current affairs on? That was the first question. And the second question is, can we make like notes on a Google Doc? Do we necessarily have to make it on like paper and pen?
Okay, so the answer to the first question is that the topic could be anything. They are very abstract in general. We do have a theme, but it's for the junior category. But for the seniors, we are trying to keep it as abstract as possible because, again, we want to inculcate that habit of bringing you on the spot, even on things which you might not have even anticipated for. So, yeah, topic could be anything. That's one. Number two, for Google Doc or anything like that, I would say it's better if you could use your 2 minutes on thinking on what you're going to say as compared to writing those things down. Because again, you might just write it somewhere or even on your Google Doc, etc. But again, whether you would be able to maintain the eye contact while speaking, whether you would be uh, able to maintain a flow, etc., whether that naturality while you speak, all of those things come up. I think that still remains a bit ambiguous if you use something like a Google Doc in this case. Right, so it's suggestive that you don't use those things, but again entirely on you with what you like or what you think is much more comfortable for you. All right, yeah. uh cool. So 2 minutes of silent prep post that 5 minutes of speaking. So we need to make sure that a lot of our things are pretty much uh in our mind as compared to them being on a sheet of paper, because again 2 minutes pass by like this, so you cannot cover much. But I think the tip that I can obviously give you, and this is like a tip that I could give you with regards to this format in a very particular way, is that you can use a sheet of paper, but but I think it will be better if you don't write your entire speech down on that sheet. Like I use this method called as the headline method. I just write the headline of the argument which I'm going to present or anything that I'm going to present, and then I just make up things in between, right? So it's like fill in the blanks. You know the flow within your own mind. You just have to fill those blocks in between. So I think that would be a really good method which can be used in this format particularly. All right. So yeah, with that, we are pretty much done with the impromptu speaking. Now, the second compulsory format that all of you have is what we call as an interpretative reading. What exactly is interpretative reading? Really simple. Here, you have to read out a published literary piece, can be a poetry, can be a prose, or a lot more examples that I'll give you in the meanwhile, with a short introduction. The focus is on bringing the text to life through voice and expression without props and dramatization. So, what exactly do we expect out of you here? Any published material and published material, and which is not your own work, of course. Why would we want to get into that situation where we are reading out our own material? Any published material which could be used by you in this scenario could look like, again, poetry, prose, could also look like the verses from the Bhagavad Gita or any other religious scriptures for that matter, which is publicly available, right? You have to read it out in a way that the person who's listening to you is able to go with you on that flow and is able to understand what you're trying to say, right? Now, this could be really interesting because this format is something which requires a lot less amount of dramatization, but more about how exactly are you supposed to explain things out. I see a lot of hands being raised, but for a while, just keep them down. I'll come onto them one by one. All right. The thing here is that the aspect that we want to inculcate through this one particular format, or what the competition also wants you to bring in, is the idea of explaining things in a very natural way, wherein it's not just you who's understanding those things, but also the one in front of you is understanding. Now, the interesting thing here, and which is something which is very different from the impromptu speaking, is that here it's going to be you who are going to decide which published literary piece would you like to read. So a lot of doubts which might arise of the fact that, so is it something that you're going to give us, or is it something that we can plan by our own? The answer is the latter. That is, you are going to decide which material would you like to bring in here, right? Now, here are a few things which might just resolve a lot of your doubts. In case there are still doubts, you could still raise your hand. First thing, material must be selected from a published literary work such as novels, short stories, or a poetry anthology. Now, what is not permitted here? A few things. Number one, plays, dramatic monologues, self written material, or unpublished online material. For the same, what we will be doing is that a day before your competition, you are supposed to tell us in advance as to what material are you going to bring in for your interpretative reading. That is, if the competition for you is on 22nd or the 23rd, you're going to tell us by the 21st itself that which material are you relying on, or what are the things that you're going to what is the reading that you're going to use, and then we'll probably permit you and you'll go ahead with that. The speaking time for you is going to be 9 minutes in total, which includes the introduction part as well. Introduction could be something which is not a part of that uh, reading, or not a part of that published literary work, but could be something which you are interpreting, or something you're giving the uh, judges as a context to what exact thing are you bringing this entire thing, right? So all those things could be inculcated within the initial part of your speech, which comes within the 9 minutes itself. Now, no props, no costumes, no dramatic acting whatsoever. Minimal movement, I would say. You just have to speak and you have to convince the judges by your words and nothing else. All right? No actions or anything like that. It's about how you make them understand those things. All right? Now, opening the floor for questions now. Yes, Raghav, go ahead.
So, like, I had a few questions. Now, I know that this is an English competition, everything will happen in English over here. But can we take translated works? Like, for example, All Quiet on the Western Front is like a German book that has been translated into English multiple times. So, can we
Yeah.
take translated works?
If that translated work is available publicly, then yes.
Okay. Secondly, over here, dramatic monologues are singled out, right?
Hmm.
Now, like take a war speech, for example. A war speech said by one character only. It is in a novel, a war
Hmm.
novel. Does that count as a dramatic monologue?
Well, if you're able to explain or elucidate on that one thing without a lot of actions or something like that, and just by your words, I think that's good to go.
Like, can you give me an example of a dramatic monologue which should not be allowed? Like, what do you mean by a dramatic monologue which is not allowed? Because books have dramatic monologues.
Right.
Novels can
So,
the
mhm.
So what type of dramatic monologue would not be allowed?
Things which require you to use a lot more or things which require you to use a lot more things apart from just your mere words are things that we are trying to discourage in this entire scenario. So, for example, when you're trying to explain something which requires a lot of prior context and requires a lot of emotions, actions, etc., etc., we would like to highly discourage probably those things. Then, what are we trying to bring in here? Things which are like, for example, really deep words or deep like quotations, etc., which requires a lot more explanation in itself. So in any explanatory sort, if you would think of it that way, uh, the addition that you're bringing to any such work is the part that you're explaining the judges what exactly it means, and not just to go by the prima facie explanation of it. So you're adding layers to existing things, which is what we want to bring in through this activity. So maybe that part, the part where you add on to your way of explaining the same thing, something in a very different way, something through which I did not see the world through.
Mm. Also, like one last question, like I saw the finalists for this competition and I saw how they spoken on. They all majorly chose topics which had like a global issue attached
Right.
to it. Do we, is it advised that we take up such a thing?
I mean, you can if you want to. The part is that maybe it will help you to bring some amount of relevance to the thing that you're trying to bring. But again,
Mm.
it's not something which you compulsorily have to do. It's entirely on what you bring and how you bring that up in the way that it actually makes the judge feel that whatever you're saying is relevant in the current world.
Yeah,
Right?
just
By the end of
adding to it, Advesh. So A, this is the Indian qualifiers, correct? So here the
Mhm.
content could be very much, Indian perspective. But the idea is that when you go for a global round, for UK, look at the judges. Majority of the judges not going to be from India. I think hardly there are going to be one or two judges from India. So that if the
Right.
content is global in nature, your persuasive power increase significantly because they were able to follow you, much more better.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Yes. Can we have Leela here? Yeah.
Hi. I was just wondering, what is like a rubric or anything that sets speakers apart? Is there something like that? What does it look like? How would we go about that?
Oh, yeah, we do have the judging rubrics. We'll be sharing it's to the last part of our session, so we'll be covering that.
All right, thank you.
No worries. Yeah. Stuti.
I wanted to ask, like, when we are going to, if we are going to present a poem, should we like recite the whole poem first, or we can just first give the introduction, then a verse, then speak on it like that? Can we divide it like that?
Yep. On you entirely. It depends on what you feel is a better way to go about it. By the end of it, you have to convince the judges that you're the best out of them,
Okay,
and
thank
you've
you.
used it in the best way. Yeah. Kavya.
Yeah, I was wondering what length of content you would recommend. Like, how much time should we spend explaining and how much time with the content?
Again, it depends on what you feel is good. I don't think there is a recommendation as such. The only thing that is recommended is that you should finish by 9 minutes. I would say it's better if a lot of time, equal amount of time is spent on the actual part and then on the explanation as well. Yeah, I think I would suggest that it's better if you go by equals or something very similar. Yeah. Can we have Vedant here?
Yes, sir. So I just wanted to ask, would a speech of a famous personality would be more recommended than a, let's say, excerpt from a story?
Depends on how you are able to make that one thing relevant in the entire span of things. So, like, for example, again, this is interpretative reading, right? By the end of it, it's also about how you make the judges really feel that whatever they have heard for the 9 minutes that they have spent, how is it going to really change their lives altogether, or something that is going to make them feel that, this is different, this is something that I've not thought of, or this is not a way in which I've looked at it. So it's about how you explain the thing that you're talking about is really important or really relevant.
Okay, sir. And after narrating the, let's say, famous personality's oration, we can give our thoughts on it. Am I
Yep,
right?
that is the interpretative part of it.
Okay, perfect. And just one last thing. Should we take for Indian regionals an Indian aspect or a global one?
It's again, it's on you what you think should go by it. I mean, look, I don't think there is a as such recommendation. It's what you feel goes with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, Vaishnav.
So just now you had said that at the end we're gonna probably give like our interpretation of it. So for we first the introduction and probably like like a 7 minute content and then like probably like a 2 minute thing on our interpretation of it. Is that how it will go?
Again, this deals a lot with what exactly does the format require. Not something that we're covering today, but we're going to cover this in the subsequent session. So you don't have to worry about it for now. Just get what are the rules for the format as such, right?
Yeah,
So
thank you.
no worries. Yes. Anyone else?
Yeah, I had a question.
Yep.
This introduction, by that you mean like introduction of like, oh, this is a novel about this, and right now I'm going to be reading an excerpt from this
Yeah.
part, or like something like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the context that you give, right?
And
That
this
what exactly?
interpretation, like the interpretation that we make is obviously going to be self-written, right? So that's not going to be penalized.
Yeah. It has to be self-written.
Yeah.
Yes. Harika.
Hello, good evening, sir. I wanted to ask that during this interpretive reading, the first part or the first 2 to 3 minutes, it will count as explanation or intro, right? Or do we have to explain it at the end? The introduction would be taken in the starting, and then after reading the whole excerpt or whatever I'm reading, and then in the end, then I am sharing my thoughts, or is it just that the first half would be or the first a minute or whatever would be introduction and then the whole lot would be reading and word for word or that.
Okay, this is again the same question that I think one of you already asked. I think Vaishnav was the one who asked this question. Uh, this is dependent on what you feel is important. 9 minutes are for you. It's on you. Again, the part about what is recommended and what is not is going to be done in tomorrow's session. So you don't have to worry about it for now. We're just restricting ourselves to what exactly is the format and what does it require out of us, right?
Right, so thank you.
No worries. Yeah. Yes, Janvi.
Hi, sir. I was just wondering what exactly constitutes dramatization.
Dramatization. So, for example, if you have followed any of the if you have followed something of a very similar format but requires a lot of dramatization, again the word, it's dramatic adaptation, right? So there you would see that people are using a lot of like the accent of the person, actions while explaining things, etc., etc. We don't want those things in interpretative reading. What we want to really lower down is the part about where you come up and use less of your actions, but more you're able to explain us more through your words. So that is what we want to bring in here. We want to just avoid the part where you go ahead and use any sort of actions or any dress or code or anything like that for your interpretative reading. We want it to be more about the way you're able to explain it orally.
So would intonation be considered dramatization?
Mm, well, not really. It depends again on the way you use it, right? If it's something which is very, very clearly in a way that it is going to, it's something which is operating independently and something which can be easily pointed out, then I don't think it will be good enough. But if it's used in a more subtle way, in a way that you're able to, use it up in a much more natural way altogether, I think that will be a better strategy. So, very simply put, use things, but use things in your own limit, in a way that you're able to not make it very, very clear for the judges that this is the only thing on which my speech is based on.
All right, and I just have one more question.
Yeah.
If my speech is more emotion based and has more emotional relevance than political or current affairs, then will that affect my performance at all?
Well, not really. So it's again about the way you are able to convince the third person, right? The best example could be to probably just check your interpretative reading with your uh, parents or probably with your siblings, etc. Right? Just ask them that do you think it has a lot of emotions, or do you think I should use more words to explain those things in a clearer manner? So I think it's about the way you are able to explain those things. Again, the nitty-gritties of the format, we'll discuss all of these tomorrow.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah. Yes. Anyone else? Raghav?
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm taking more time.
Yes.
You said in the question that you just asked that accents count as dramatization. But
Hmm.
like if we give different voices to different characters, would that count as overly dramatic? Like say it's a conversation between two characters and we give
Right.
them two different voices.
So till the time it's not in a way that it mocks the one character. For example, a lot of times for using one sort of character, we try to make it more humorous by probably giving it a funny tone, etc., etc. I don't think those things are suggested. If you're able to stick to your content more as compared to the accent part of it, I think that's more clearer. Again, you are free to again go ahead and use it in a way that uh, makes it distinguished, say dialogues. But again, the part where it is solely dependent on the accent itself is something that we don't suggest. So you get it? It's a very thin line that you have to see in between.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. uh yeah, Leela.
Sorry, my hand was sorry.
Oh, that's fine. Cool. So that is about interpretative reading. Oh, sorry, it's written interpretive. It's interpretative, by the way. Yeah. Material must be selected from published literary works such as novels, short stories, etc. And a lot of you smart people who have already published a lot of things which are available publicly. Sorry, we won't allow that. It has to be something which someone else has published, right? Yeah. Now, let's come to the format that I love the most, and this is the format that is the one that I've been always excited to do, which is the three versus three format. That is, you in a team of three going against another team which is of three. The interesting part about this format is that you don't get to choose who your teammates are. It's going to be us who will be giving you the team. In fact, not just one team, but two teams. Why two teams, sir? Because you're going to do this format twice, right? The previous format that we've discussed till now, impromptu, interpretative reading, all of those formats were supposed to be done by you once. This format is supposed to be done twice. Right, point number one, which means you'll get two different teams. The first thing that I want to clear here is that it's going to be team of three, which means you along with two more people. Second thing, what is the debating style? It's what we call as the parliamentary debating format. That is three speakers per side. Now, so what are the sides here? Very simple. For any topic, there is a for the topic and there is an against the topic, right? Which is what we call as the government and the opposition. Government is the team which is in favor, opposition is in the team which is against the topic. Now, here again, the format is probably like where one team wins over the other, but you don't really have to care about whether your team is winning or whether your team is losing. Why? Because by the end of it, what we're going to look at is not which team won, but what we're going to look at is who scored the highest in that room. So, for example, if there are, say, 18 students here in this room, then can someone tell me that how many debates are possible if there are 18 students in a room?
Three
Yeah,
debates of two teams.
Two. Two.
two debates or three debates? Again,
Three
think of
debates.
it.
Three debates.
Three debates. Who says three
Three.
debates? Raise your hand. Okay, many of you, I believe. Okay, almost seven. And who says two debates? Okay, none of you now. Interesting. Yeah, so the answer is again three debates. Why three debates, sir? Very simple. Because first of all, 18. 18 means we can have six teams in total, right? Because every team has three members. So 18 divided by three, six teams. Six teams and six teams going against each other, which means in one room you will have two teams, right? So how many rooms can we have? Six divided by two, that is three. So we're going to have three debates then. So in such a case where you have three teams who three debates going on, what we are primarily looking at is not which team won or which team lost, but what are the individual scores that you're getting. So if there is a team, like for example, a team including me, Raghav, and Stuti, then in such a team, we won't look at whether we won against the other team, but we look at what is the individual score that Stuti got, or what is the individual score that Raghav got, or what is the individual score that I got, right? And as per that, we'll be evaluating this particular format. Now, the interesting thing in this format is that you're going to get, first of all, how many minutes in total? 30 minutes in total to prepare, right? And both the teams have to prepare separately. So, for example, if there is one team of me, Vaishnav, and Raghav, we'll be preparing in our breakout room where we'll be discussing all the points, etc., etc. After so in between our discussion, after the 10-minute marks, or that is when the uh, preparation has started and 10 minutes have already been exhausted, we have to give the definition of that topic or the definition that we are going to use to the opposition side. This is the trick that we're using in this format. That is, normally in this format, you only get to know what is the definition that the other side is using only after certain period of time. But in this particular, only after the debate gets started. But in this format, we want you to share the definition of the motion that you have made already to the opposition side after 10 minutes of preparation. So, for example, it's very interesting, and this is a thing that which has happened a lot during my debating years. We used to have this topic which would say this house would ban shooting, right? And everyone is like, oh wow, we should ban shooting. Why not, etc., etc., right? Oh, it's so bad. It should be banned, correct? Because animals are getting killed because of shooting, etc. So yeah, one should. And by the end of it, the other team came up with a very different definition of shooting, wherein they did not consider it to be the animal shooting thing or anything like that. Instead, they thought of it as the normal photo shoot, or say the photography that we have, that sort of shooting. And this just made the entire debate so muddy because, again, we had a very different definition of shooting and they had a completely different definition. So, what we are going to do in this particular competition is that after 10 minutes of your preparation time, the government team, the team which is for the motion, is supposed to give their definition of the motion to the opposition side. All right. And all teams have to adhere with that. All right. Yeah. Now let's open the floor for questions. Yes, Vaishnav, you've been raising your hand for a while now. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, when doing a 3v3 debate, each person and the three people has a different role, correct? Like one's the main speaker, rebuttal, second speaker, etc.
Yeah.
So when you're grading on the points each person is getting,
Mhm.
won't the criteria for each sort of role be different? And
Yup. So it's more about how relevant your speech is in that given point of time. So for example, a lot of times you will see, so again, if this question has been asked, it's an interesting question. So the question is, for the ones who've not understood, is that the 3v3 debating basically requires three different roles altogether for the three speaker roles. That is, the first speaker has a very different role as compared to the second speaker, and the third speaker has a very different role from the other two. Why? Because again, the first speaker has to establish arguments, while the second speaker has to respond and then explain on the argument that the first speaker has given, and then the third speaker has to just respond to the other side's argument. You see difference in roles here, which is what Vaishnav is asking. Now the question is that if all these three roles are very different from each other, what is the way we are going to evaluate? The way we are going to evaluate is that how relevant your speech is at that given point of time. So, for example, a lot of speakers really feel that first speakers are not able to get really good marks as compared to the second and the third speakers because they don't get a chance to speak later on, so they don't become relevant. However, you would see that a lot of debates would be almost finished after the first speaker because the first speaker's speech was just fantastic. It was something which did not require any additional explanation, and the second and third speaker just could not add a lot of things from there. So the part here is that we are going to evaluate you on the way how relevant your speech is at that given point of time. All right. So you don't have to worry whether, oh, I will be judged in a very different way as compared to the other two speakers of mine. Just make sure that you're present at that given point of time and you're able to utilize the motion and the given situation in the best possible manner. Yeah. Yes, Tuti.
So the roles which we are going to play, like whether we are going to be the first, second, or the third speaker, will be determined by you.
No, it will be determined by your side. We'll only be giving you the side or and the team that you're going with.
Then won't it be a bit of a clash because all of us would want to be the same role and
Well, not really, because again, this is something which we also want to inculcate, which is the habit of collaborating with your own peers, right? The fact that you come up together to make your team win, and by either sacrificing or doing something which you may not or may like, is something that we want to bring. So there might be chances that you might clash, but again, the thing is, how relevant do you make your role? Because trust me, all the three roles are equally important in my eyes, and I believe that it's it's actually a very big blessing if you're able to get any of the three, because all three have nuances of their own. Again, what should be done in one particular speaker role is something that we'll discuss a lot more detail tomorrow, so don't worry.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, Vedant.
Yes, sir. Could you clarify what's the per speaker time, POIs, and the tie speeches?
Oh yeah, we'll be covering that, don't worry. The next
Okay.
slide is about that. Yeah, anyone else? Sure, yeah. Okay, Sanvi.
Yeah, hi. So I just want to clarify. Um, in this situation, the prop would decide the whole definition for the entire debate.
Great.
But in a situation where, okay, like take the example you just mentioned about the shooting one. Suppose
Mhm.
I, as prop, define shooting as the killing of animals, but opt says no, that would be called poaching, and they want to say a different definition. Is there no situation where we can oppose the definition provided?
So you can oppose the definition provided. However, I think since this leeway is given to the opposition side where they get to know what is the definition that the government side is doing, I think there is a higher amount of burden on them on the opposition side to go by the definition which is given by government.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yes, Niharika.
So will there be reply speeches of each side in the end?
No, we are only going to go ahead with the three speeches that you're going to have for your side. No replies here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Divit.
Yeah, hi sir. So when you say that within the first 10 minutes of the preparation period, the prop will provide like a definition for the agenda to the opposition. So this essentially means that the opposition is just getting 20 minutes out of that 30 to prepare, right? Like we don't
Not
get any extra time.
Not really. I'll just tell you. So it's not like they're giving you the motion. Again, the motion is something which is going to be given by the
By you,
again
yeah.
by us, right? So you'll still have the motion in hand. It's just the definition part. You can just see what is the definition, whether they're going by your definition or not. If you feel that you have slightly different definition, then go ahead and explain why they should look at your definition and why your definition takes higher precedence as compared to the other sides. So it's just
All
that amount of time that you have to spend on it, not anything else. And moreover, the benefit that you get on opposition side is that you're speaking after the proposition side's turn. So for the ones who are not aware how the format is, it's very simple: proposition first speaker followed by opposition first speaker. Then you have proposition second speaker followed by opposition second speaker. Then you have proposition third speaker, then you have opposition third speaker. Proposition is basically government, right? So government 1, opposition 1. Government 2, opposition 2. Government 3, opposition 3. Right?
So
This is
can
how
I
it works.
can
Yeah.
I assume this to be like a slightly modified version of British parliamentary where there's like Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, and Whip?
Not really. British parliamentary is basically where you have four teams and not one. I think the one that you're talking about is Asian parliamentary.
Yeah, my bad, yeah.
Yeah, it's Asian parliamentary.
So
A
can
good
we
one.
consider it to be that or no?
Not really, because Asian parliamentary also has provisions of reply and doesn't have this thing where first 10 minutes you're supposed to give the definition of the other side.
And we have no reply in this format.
And we have no replies. Yeah.
All right, got that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Raghav.
Is there a provision for points of information here?
For POIs, I need to clarify that part. I think,
Because
yeah.
on the official website of WI on of theirs it is written POIs are allowed in the final debate.
Right. I'll just check with that once. I don't think we do have one for the qualifiers as such. If there is, I'll just inform you in a while. All right. Now, I think there was also a question which I think one of you asked with regards to for how many minutes in total are we supposed to speak for? Your speeches are supposed to be for 5 minutes in total, right? So if we have 5 minutes per speaker, then can someone tell me for how long is the debate supposed to go for?
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
30 minutes, right? It's 30, right? So 5 minutes per speaker, right? So 5 minutes proposition first speaker, 5 minutes opposition first, then 5 minutes proposition second, 5 minutes opposition second. Then you have 5 minutes proposition third and 5 minutes proposition opposition third. Cool. Now, with that, we are done with the compulsory formats. That is interpretative reading, impromptu speech, and 3v3 debates pretty much done. We have covered the aspect of what exactly do we mean by collaboration, which you learn from a 3v3 format. We have learned what it exactly means to be on your toes on the day of the competition through the impromptu format. And we have now also realized what it means to have no SAS only content by something that we have as interpretative reading. Now, let's move to the optional formats. The provision of optional format is such that you're supposed to choose one of these formats. You don't have to do both of them. So be wise on choosing which format would you like to go ahead with. Right. The first optional format that we have is what we call as a persuasive speech. What is a persuasive speech? A prepared speech addressing real world issues through a problem solution format. The goal is to inform and convince the audience with structured reasoning and rhetorical skill. Sample for the same. I live in Delhi. I think at this point, if anything is bigger, it's my health because my health is getting deteriorated because of the weather and more importantly, the pollution levels here in Delhi. It's a really big problem. It's a real world problem altogether. If it's a real world problem, the question then becomes that do I have a solution for it? Do I have a way to go about to solve this issue entirely? Is there something that I can do? And for the same, you could probably go ahead and come up with your own solution. So the format is really simple in that way. The first part of your speech is supposed to be about explaining the problem to the audience at large. That why should you care about it? Like, why should someone like, say, Divit should really care about pollution in Delhi while sitting in Bombay or any other city, or say any other place for that matter, right? So the first part of my speech would be to persuade you into meaning, or persuade you into convincing that this is the most important topic on earth. The second part to my speech is where I explain you the solution that I have for the same. That is, hey, I think India should collaborate with China or something, which also had similar issues of pollution in a city like Beijing. And then how did they go ahead and like solve the entire issue, and etc etc, all of those things. So problem solution format, this is what you call as a persuasive speech, a real life world issue being solved by you in a way that you explain the problem initially, and then you explain them what exactly is the solution that you have for the same, right? Yeah. Can we have Stuti here? Yes.
So when I'm doing a persuasive speaking, can we take like global issues like gender equality and like give a solution for that probably?
Yeah, absolutely you can.
So we can take something as such as a statement also, or like a actual issue and then give a solution to it.
I would say I think people are more persuaded. So, for example, if I'm the judge, I am more persuaded towards things which I see in my real life, right? If today you give me a solution for pollution, I will probably give you all my marks and all my like all my credibility, etc., etc., everything to you, right? So, in that way, it's about how you persuade the judge. What makes the judge feel that whatever you're talking is of relevance. So, if for example you have a topic which you think might not be that important for the judge, give them examples to show why does this topic really matter to them.
Okay. So we just have to take something that is very relevant to everybody, no matter where they live. So
Yeah, like for example, even if it's something which is not even if it's something which is not very important to them, explain why would it matter in future to them.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Divit.
Yeah, so two things, sir. First one, while I'm giving my persuasive speech, so what exactly am I being marked on? I'm being marked on the solutions I'm proposing and how viable they are, or is it the fact as to how persuasive I am as a whole? So is it like both those things combined, or just leaning towards one of them?
Yep, it's combined actually. It's about what is the issue that you're trying to bring in, because this part is completely abstract. It's on you what type of thing that what type of thing do you want to bring. So we are of course going to mark you not just on the solution but also on what problem have you identified at the very first.
And can it also be something philosophical? So you mentioned something like pollution, but
Yeah.
in my opinion, pollution as a problem, or gender equality, or racism, those that bracket of issues that's
Right.
faced in the world today is pretty common. And I would think that other competitors of mine would also choose something like that on the lines of that,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
if I choose something out of the box that maybe the judge doesn't resonate with so much, but may realize that it does have future importance for the world, does that account for something?
Yeah, absolutely. That is entirely on the part where you make your content accordingly then. So this is where you get marked on matter a lot more, because again, as you've already stated, that matter gets saturated after some point because everyone tries to bring the same thing. But if you're able
Yeah.
to bring something unique, something specific, and I'll tell you this why this really matters, because this is where you can also bring in solutions which are really true in general, or something which can be implemented quickly, because to resolve bigger problems that people might bring in their speeches, it requires ample of time and ample of money. But
Yeah.
sometimes once we choose something which is very niche, it's easier to solve those issues as well. So I think, yeah, you will be evaluated then accordingly for your content and for your matter in a positive way,
All right, great.
right?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Niharika.
So I have two questions. Firstly,
Mhm.
should we use a lot of statistics and facts to support the problem, or should we just keep it subjective?
As in, could you just come again?
Suppose we are defining a problem or stating how bad it is, should we use a lot of statistics and facts to support it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely you can. It makes it more persuasive.
Okay. And my second question is, what's the speaker time limit?
8 minutes. Yeah, again, I'll just share that. So here are a few of the things: prepared formal persuasive speech, identification of real life problems, and time limit is 8 minutes, right? You can use a note card, but again, I would suggest, if it's better if you don't use any sort of card or something. It should come naturally to you, because again, while I'm speaking, I'm not even able to like speak one full sentence properly, because again, the pollution levels are actually very high in Delhi at this point. Yeah. uh can we have Vedant here?
Yes, sir. So one thing I wanted to ask, are we convincing a person in a position of power? So like, for hypothetically, if I say let's ban XYZ activity, so do they have that power to do it?
Well, not really. Here you're trying to convince, say, a group of people, and it's a very heterogeneous group in the way that it might include an 80-year-old, and it might even have like an 80-year-old. So how do you convince all of them? How do you bring all of them together?
I'm convincing them on agreeing with me, or I'm convincing them that the action I'm suggesting is correct.
I think both of them actually mean the same thing, that you convince them to explain that the solution and the problem that you, the first thing that you convince them is that the problem that you've identified is actually a very big problem. The second thing that is then you convince them with is that the solution that I have for the problem is the best solution.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Yeah. Yes. Anyone else?
So we will be allowed to choose our own topics, right?
Yeah.
And it can be about anything. Okay.
It's on you how creative you are on that.
I just wanted to ask how many people will qualify?
How many people would qualify? I think this information is something which I think the team would be able to give you an answer on. For now, I don't have a number as such, but I'll just confirm with the team and tell you by tomorrow.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Let's now come to the last format that we have. The last format is what we call as the after dinner speaking. Very interesting format. After dinner, you don't just eat sweets, but you also give speeches, right? A speech meant to inform and entertain a specific audience, blending humor with insight. The speech is delivered in a very conversational, engaging tone without props or costume. So here, I think the part which is, I think, really important is about the humor aspect of it, right? Something light-hearted, something which is not very deep. Because I think till now, what you must have noticed is that, oh, sir, I'm just bored. All of us are just talking about these big world issues, pollution, etc., etc., global warming. Can we bring something light-hearted, something which a person like me would enjoy a lot more as compared to these bigger issues of world? Then I think this format is for you. This format requires you to, address a specific, also for example, it's like a dinner table, right? How do you like entertain everyone in a dinner table? By bringing something which is very humorous, something very insightful, something conversational, something that makes them not leave the dinner table, if I would have to call it, right? So yeah, I think that's the thing that we're trying to find in this particular format, which is that what is your engagement skills in such scenario? How do you bring everyone together in such a case, wherein you are not talking about big issues of world, but something very small, something very changeable, or something very interesting to talk about, right? Here is where you use your creativity to a large extent. Yes, Sargun.
So, do we have to dramatize our performance in this one?
Not really. I think I would say that more than dramatization, it's about how do you make them convinced by just your mere words, right? Like, for example, if today I were to just bring something about, if I have to bring something funny in front of you, it might not just be through dramatic way. It could also be just my mere words, right? By something which just makes you sit here on this on this Zoom meet for a longer period of time as compared to anything else, right? So nothing dramatic as such. Something again, it's on you. How do you go ahead and like use it accordingly, right? It's like you can of course try to change the tone of your voice in between, but not something which is very significant, at least for this format. All right. Now,
Yes, sir.
for the ones who want a bit more about this format, very simple, prepared humorous speeches addressed to a specific and a fictional audience, stated in the introduction or by the speaker. So, for example, in the introduction part, you can just come up and explain what kind of audience are you addressing here to. And I think that should be pretty much it. The time that you get is 6 minutes with 1 minute of grace, what I call as a grace minute here. One double-sided 3 inch by 5 inch note card permitted. Wow, interesting. So that is, you can bring here a note card, which is probably not as big as say this much or say something like that. You can just use the measurements accordingly. But the thing is that we would obviously want you to be a bit more impromptu here, something natural here as compared to something prepared. Because again, if you want to engage someone, uh, or if you want to engage an audience, you do engage them through your natural ability and not by the ability that you're reading it from somewhere, right? So yeah, no props, costumes, or stand-up comedy routines, anything like